Hey friends, I'm Kris. This is Through the Prism of Chrism. I'm teaching this week from my mini book, The Model Prayer on the Lord's Prayer. Now this isn't the last message, but we've come now to the last verse. That's in Matthew 6:13. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And with a capital P, that would be patience, patient following. He said, follow me and I'll make you to become fishers of men. If you want to become, then you have to learn to follow. So today's teaching, we're to look at 4 prayers. Number 1, Lord, you lead, I'll follow. I said, you lead, I'll follow. Notice it did not say drag us into paths of righteousness. You shouldn't have to be drugged, screaming and kicking to do the will of God. Just say lead on. Romans 8:14, as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. And notice in this prayer, lead us not into temptation. That's the negative, which would also assume that there is a positive. So there's somewhere good that God is taking you if you will follow him. Second prayer, Lord, you set the pace. We're not in a race. I said, you set the pace. We're not in a race. Why is that? Because oftentimes when you follow God's leadership, he doesn't set any speed records. In fact, he said in Psalms 37 and verse 23, and we've quoted it often, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. But I like to share that not only are the steps ordered, the stops of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Sometimes the cloud stopped and hovered over the tabernacle, and when the cloud stopped, Israel had to put up their tents and just wait on God. In Numbers 9 and verse 22, it said whether it was 2 days or a month or a year that the cloud sat on the tabernacle, then the Israelites had to stop. And then when the cloud lifted, then they journeyed on. So sometimes, and that's the part we don't like, a couple of days, a month, a year, hey, let's get this show on the road. But that's not the way God does in leadership. He tries to get you to lay down in green pastures and learn to wait on him. A third prayer, Lord, take me where you want to go, not where I want to go. Listen, it's not in man that walketh to direct his steps. Another verse said they're all turned aside. They're all together become filthy. And another verse in Proverbs says the ways of man are right in his own eyes. You think your agenda is God's agenda, but seldom is that the case. Look at Psalm 16 and verse 11, familiar verse. It says, you will show me the path of life. If he's directing, he will show the path of life. In thy presence is fullness of joy. At thy right hand are pleasures forevermore. Notice this, the path of life, then the presence of joy, and then pleasures forevermore. Here's the pattern. You find the path of God, then you'll find the presence of God, then you'll know the pleasure of God, or that which is pleasing, okay? You know, I used to pray, or I used to think that the verse that says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, meant that God was leading me there. But Psalm 23:3 says, he leads me in paths of righteousness. So if you're following God, he's going to take you to right places. Yea, though I walk through the valley. In other words, he didn't say he's leading, I walk. That's where I took myself. And where's the Lord then? He's not in front of me. He's beside me. He said, thou art with me. Your rod and your staff comfort me. In other words, because if you don't follow God, it takes you into dark places. He doesn't lead you, but then he has to discipline you to get you back in the right path, okay? I want you to understand that. Number 4, Lord, I need you to talk to me so I can walk with you. You talk to me so I can walk with you. You know, in the old days, we used to look for signs. What do you mean? Merge left, pedestrian crossing, wrong way, one way. When you're traveling, you look for signs. And we did that the same in the spirit. We're always wanting God to fill up the fleece with water or whatever. Now we follow what? A voice, not a sign. Siri is on the GPS and she says, turn around, do a U-turn, go back. Okay, what's that mean? We still learn signs. We still watch for signs. We still look at the road map. That's the Bible. But there's something even better that takes the words of the road map, and that is the voice of the shepherd. John 10 and 27, he said, my sheep hear my voice and they follow me. We need the guidance of the voice. Lord, you talk to me, I'll walk with you. You know what? As I close, I don't need a guru. I don't need some super hyper spiritual somebody to lead me. I don't need a guru. I need a guide. Jesus is the guide. And Psalm 48 says he'll be our guide unto death. Kris here. Tune in tomorrow for more on the Lord's Prayer. Have a great day in Christ.